the Geriatric Millennials with Jayme and Beth.
Hi, Jayme.
Oh, hey, Beth.
This is, I'm here to scare you today with my tales
Oh my gosh.
and my stories.
I do not like being scared.
I would believe that because you're a happy person. You have a lot of joy. And that I think scaring does kind of squash the joy out of you. So,
Yeah.
but this spooky season, I've been into being a little scared. So not big scared, just a little scared. So I've been watching like a lot of the, the haunted mazes and houses that people go to. I've been watching a lot of people on YouTube that are taking their cameras through with them.
Oh.
And it's the best because it's scary, but not.
Because you're not
I'm not
actually there.
experiencing it, but I does get my heart racing. So I was like, ooh, spooky. So today I'm super excited because we're talking about our spookiness.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I have some scary stories
What?
that are just like personal stories of things that happened to me. So I don't know what yours are, but
I'm so excited and intrigued. Okay, yeah, give me
just
one.
2 times in my life that I was scared out of my wits.
There's nothing like being scared in real life. Like, and I just full disclaimer, trigger warning, like this is all in jest and fun. We are talking about being scared in safe ways, not, or maybe Jamie's like, Beth, no, I was scared in a real way.
I really was.
yeah.
I'm rolling my eyes. I'm like, oh, I misunderstood the assignment.
Oh, okay.
It's okay. I'm still going to share my stories.
So just note that going into this. Okay.
It all turned out fine.
Mine
in the
are
end.
ghost stories. So,
Ooh, okay. This is going to be interesting.
Okay. I only have one like scary story that I was like a little bit scared. So, okay. Maybe I'll do mine first because yours
go
seems
for
like
it.
more intense. So I'm going to give my scary story that I was actually scared walking down the street once. So I was in Chicago and it was fall and they have this L there, like an elevated train, like a subway, but above ground.
Okay.
And so I was walking from my aunt's house underneath the L, which was like across the street, and then to my apartment. And my apartment was kind of around the corner, and it was attached to like a movie theater and like more of a entertainment-y type district. And anyway, I'm walking and I feel someone behind me. And it's this guy. And I look back there and he has like a beanie down to his eyebrows and he has his jacket up all the way zipped and his pockets in his pocket.
His hands in his pockets?
His hands in
or
his pockets, his pockets in his hands. One or the other. I do not know which.
Okay.
And so he's walking behind me. I'm like, and I usually never get the heebie-jeebies. Like I'm just like, whatever. And I'm walking and I'm like, and then in college, I'm this young, I was probably 20 years old maybe. Mm-hmm. And he just kept like, I felt his pace quickening. I was like, oh no, not today, Jesus. Like I was just freaking out a little bit. And I like really quickly passed under the L, which is the most scary part because it feels like it's almost in an alley and it's really dark. And he's gaining on me. And literally like I get like, he's just really close to me. And all of a sudden I hear all of these children running, and Harry Potter had been playing in the theater in my building and it just got out. And so there's this flood of like 12-year-old kids that just come around the corner. And so he just walked by me, but he walked by me and I just turned around and I just stared at him and we made eye contact and I just glared him down because like, I know you were trying to do something rotten, you jerk. But I was saved by Harry Potter. So that was my scary.
Oh,
that was
that's
scariest.
a scary feeling.
But that's like not spooky scary. So I apologize. That's not like a fun Halloween scary, but it was in the fall. So there you go.
There you go. There you go. That is actually similar to one of the stories that I was going to share.
Okay.
So my story is I was 18 or 19 years old and living up in Canada, living with my parents. And I was out and about and I think it was fall. Mm-hmm. Because it gets dark. Mm-hmm. And this is up in Canada. So it starts
really
getting dark earlier
yeah.
and earlier. So anyway, I was driving home and we lived in a pretty big city. Mm-hmm. And I'm driving home and so I turn and I notice there's a car behind me and it takes the same turn. And then the next lights or whatever, I turn again and the car turns again. And then, So I'm just kind of noticing and paying attention. And I'm like, next turn, same thing. Next turn, same thing. And I was like, just continually becoming more aware and also anxious at the same time. Like, is this person following me? Like, what's going on? Right. And it's just headlights because it's dark.
It's like straight out of like a horror film.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just keep driving and like every turn I take, this car is taking.
Oh my gosh.
Until literally the townhouse. So my parents lived in a townhouse. Mm-hmm. I turn into the townhouse parking lot. So does the freaking car behind me. And I was like my heart was beating so fast and I'm like dumb. Like I should have just gotten out of there and kept driving and like come back. But I don't don't know. My brain wasn't fully developed at that time. And also I just was like, surely they're not going to turn. Surely they're not.
This is not really
surely
happening.
They're not going to turn here and here. And until, I am not even kidding you, I pull into the parking slot and it was like 2 or 3 slots over, this car pulls in and I'm just like, just my heart is beating so fast. I'm like keeping the doors locked and I was just like, what do I do? Like, what do I even do? What do I even do? And honestly, I don't remember what happened after that because like nothing happened, but
Jayme, oh my gosh.
That was a terrible way to end the story.
That's what I remember. You built up so much drama for this story.
I did because that's how I felt. I felt so scared and then, super relieved because like I wasn't murdered. I wasn't attacked. Like nothing happened. But I remember that feeling so vividly because it was, I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah. I mean, I was just, my mind was going all crazy. Like I'm being followed. Like what? No. And then, but it was like this tug of war in my mind. Like, no, they're not following me. But why do they keep, anyway, oh my gosh. It's a scary feeling to feel like you're have been followed.
Oh,
then and like and then I was like, oh my gosh, I led them to my house. Like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? And like I said, I don't remember the rest other than I was safe and fine. And that person actually wasn't following me, but it really felt like it. And it was so scary.
Well, fear does some weird stuff to you.
Oh my gosh.
One of the times so I like to do pranks.
Okay.
Keeping this lighthearted. From the get-go, I like to do pranks. And so my parents in the 80s left my brother and I alone in the house while they went next door to an Amway party.
Okay.
And so they're probably going to be gone for like 45 minutes to an hour. And my brother must have been like 2 or 3. So I was probably like 8-ish, maybe something like that. And so all I remember is we were sitting in my room and I started telling my brother stories about our parents and how, mom and dad, how they left? Well, guess what, Jake? They're dead. And I was like, mom and dad left us. They are never coming back.
Oh my gosh.
They're both dead, Jake. They're never coming back.
Oh my gosh.
They've abandoned us. This whole thing as a prank on my brother.
You traumatized him.
No, I traumatized myself because I started to believe the lie. So I start crying like, oh my gosh, mom and dad aren't coming back. And Jake's crying and I'm crying and we're playing with toys in my room and my parents come back and we're just sitting in my room looking up at them crying. And I'm like, why did you abandon us type of thing? So
oh my word.
That is one of the times my scare prank did go wrong.
Because you started to believe
my own stuff, which happens sometimes. It's kind of like, I always think about that guy that was following me, but I'm like, was he really following you or was it cold? He had his hands in his pockets and he was just walking in the same direction.
Right?
I don't know.
Right.
I made some assumptions, but the fear, I listened to that intuition, but again, sometimes when you're 8, you probably shouldn't believe your own lie. So that's one of my spooky things that I've done to myself.
It's actually kind of funny. Whew. Okay. This next story is still kind of fresh in my head. Oh. I mean, it happened a long time ago, but we were living in Belize and our kids were really young. My daughter turned 1 when we were there and it was in that first year. So she was 1 year old and there are a lot of creatures in Belize. Okay. And so we were staying in my parents' home, which they were only there at that time, just part of the year. So the rest of the year, nature kind of takes over a little bit. Like the creature, if it's not occupied, creatures start to kind of make themselves at home and like you get there and you got to chase them out, like bugs and different things. Right. And this is Central America. So this is jungle land. So there's a lot of different kinds of creatures. Okay. And part of the time that we were there, Tony was gone. He was doing, I think this was when he was doing one of his travel nurse assignments or something. Anyways, he wasn't there and my parents weren't there.
Oh, so you're alone with your kids.
I'm alone with my kids. And I go to the kitchen and I go to turn on the faucet and there's a snake on the faucet. Okay. So I, scream and I'm like, oh my gosh. Right. And like, and then it just disappears. So I'm looking I'm like, okay, what do I do? Right. And, my baby is on the floor playing in the cupboard because I used to put like all my Tupperware down where she could reach it so she could just like play with it or whatever while I was doing the dishes or something like that. So she's like playing in the cupboard. I go to scoop her up. There is a snake right there.
No.
Like right where she's playing. I'm like, like scoop her up and get her away. Okay. And then I'm like, okay, where'd the snake go?
Mm-hmm.
Where did the snake go?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like looking around, and these are like tiny snakes, like pretty little. And then I see another snake, like, and I don't know if this is like the same snake or what, but it wasn't, because it was like on another part of it was like on the kitchen cabinet, like on the edge. And I was like, oh my gosh. So there are snakes just like everywhere, like coming out of the kitchen area. And I am freaking out because I don't know if they're poisonous. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to kill them. I have a baby. And they have, so my parents had a guy who was doing some yard work kind of on the premises. And so I called him and I'm like, come and help me, like get your machete or whatever. Because there's always a machete around for killing snakes. This wasn't my first snake encounter, but anyways, this was my first snake encounter in the kitchen to this extent. Okay, so anyhow, he's in there we're trying to find the snakes. 9 snakes later. So there had to have been a nest. Yeah. And these things hatched. Snakes. And they were just like coming out, but we could not find the source. We couldn't find, and I was so incredibly highly stressed because it's the kitchen and I have to use the kitchen because I need to
cook,
live
and eat.
And I was on such high alert and so I was on the edge of like a nervous breakdown. I remember FaceTiming my parents, and they were with my sister at this time. And so they were both like there on the other side of the line. And I was like bawling. Aww. And I was like, there's snakes in the kitchen. There's snakes in the kitchen. I'm like, I can't get them all. And they keep coming out. And I'm like, what do I didn't know what to do. I did not. And I was just like, I want to leave. Like, I want to go. I want to leave. I want to get on a plane. Like, I want to escape this torturous chamber of snakes. Like, that's how I felt. But I couldn't leave. And I had to just like continue on with life and like sleep in that house and continue to like cook in that kitchen. And it scarred me. I think it really scarred me. I think that I probably have
PTSD from it. Yeah.
From that, because I remember feeling so panicked and like I wanted to just run away and like take my kids and like never look back and like, this is terrible. Because that was awful. That was an awful, awful experience. And I was so scared for so long. So then I was like, oh my gosh, my baby can't be in here. Like she can't play in this. And I can't, because I didn't know when the next snake was going to come out or like if it was over or where they went. And like, it was terrible. It was terrible. So that's my snakes in the kitchen story.
It's like snakes on a plane, but worse.
Oh, it was terrible.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah. There you go.
Mine is taking us now to the paranormal.
Ooh.
So I was living alone in Chicago and, you know, in an older building. And I had this, it was a studio, but it had like a little cubby that I used as a bedroom. So it worked out really well. And anyway, one night I'm laying in bed. And you know how sometimes you can just feel the presence of something or someone around you.
Okay.
So I'm laying in bed and I'm reading a book, and I'm facing, my back is to the room. So it's not by the wall. Like I'm laying with my face facing the wall, and I'm reading this book, and all of a sudden I feel the presence of like 3 to 5 children.
What in the what?
You know how like kids, like, you know, like when kids are like, you're working with kids and they're just sitting in a line behind you, like waiting for a book to be read or something. Yeah. That's what it felt like. It felt like there was these 3 to 5 just little kids sitting there.
That is weird. What? This is creepy.
Spooky season. So I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like praying through it. And I was like, eventually they were there for a really long time, that presence. And so I was like, all right, you guys, like I need to go to bed. So I need you to leave.
What?
And I was like, I need to go to bed. So I need you guys to go now. And within a couple minutes, the feeling was gone. And I was just like, oh my gosh.
That's weird.
Fast forward a couple of like days or something. And I lived in the same building I worked in. And so where I worked was like someone's condo that they converted into like an office suite. And I was just asking about them, like, oh, you know, what was this building before? You know, I didn't say like, I think I saw some ghosts. Like, oh, this actually used to be an old YMCA.
Okay.
And I'm just like, oh, like where children might have been. I was so scared. And then I come to find out there was like, honestly, they had like sightings of a ghost there before too, of this personage that was in like kind of like a woman that just kind of roamed. And there was one time I felt that presence too. I was like, I don't like any of this. It's not I don't want this to be my jam.
No.
Like, I'm not like super into like ghosts and thinking about that. But then the other part of me is like, there's dimensions in the world and the universe that we know. So it's like, maybe, I don't know, but I definitely felt that there was children watching me.
That is so creepy.
Watching me read. So it gives me the shivers still. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That made me think
creepy.
of one more story.
Yes.
Okay. When you said presence, like you can sense something. So this is another creature story. Let me just say.
Love it.
Most of mine are going to be about creatures because I have a lot of those. Okay. At this time in my life, I was teaching school in Belize and I was living in a thatched roof cabana with my housemate. And so we each had our own bedrooms. So I was in my bedroom and I was in my bed and it was nighttime. And so this village, they turned off the generator at night. So there's no electricity at night. It's just darkness. And so anyway,
great.
I'm in my bed and I'm trying to go to sleep and I do not know how or why I did this, but I always kept a flashlight next to my bed because if I had to get up, there was no light, right? And so I always had a flashlight next to my bed and I was just laying in my bed and I just had this feeling and I grabbed my flashlight and I turned it on and I turned around directly behind my head and there was a giant scorpion literally inches away from my head behind me on the wall.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if like I sensed it or like God like
intervened,
put that into me because I was like, why? Like I had no like there was no noise, there was no reason for me to turn my flashlight on and look behind me. There really wasn't, except for the fact that there was a giant scorpion there, and I didn't know.
Oh
Isn't that
gosh.
crazy?
That's so crazy. Ooh, that intuition. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. I have one last story.
Okay.
It's supernatural too.
Oh.
So I grew up in a ranch style home in the 80s. So it was not open concept. So you had like very specific rooms. So in the back of our house, it was like a family room with a laundry, kitchen, dining room. And then you came out and there was a living room and you went down a hall and there's bedrooms.
Okay.
So my bedroom was at the very far end of the house on the right. Why you need to know that it was on the right, you don't, but just mental image. So at nighttime, I would want to go get like a drink or something. And so many times I would walk out through the hall, dining room, into the kitchen, and you can see into the family room. And then there's like a little laundry nook. And it was always darker in there. Like the light never quite penetrated.
Okay.
Well, I always felt a presence there.
Okay.
And so like if it was late at night or anything, I always felt like something was going to come out of the shadows. A la the movie Ghost, when the bad guys get taken by like the demons. Like the demons are these shadows that come on the ground and like pull them under. It was very much that. So until I was late in high school, it would be this thing where I would go out there, you know, to turn on the lights to the dining or to the family room, you'd have to like go to the family room, like past where you needed to be. So it wasn't convenient to turn lights on.
Okay.
So I'd have the refrigerator open. I'd be getting my drink and I'd start feeling the presence, and it started far away and it would start getting closer and closer and closer. And so from the time I was a little kid till I was like older high school, as soon as I felt it get to like where the family room and the kitchen met, I would start sprinting to my room and I'd have to run in a full, like, it was not a sprint because I didn't want to make my parents or anybody like either wake them up or think I was insane, but it was like a very brisk walk. I would have to go there, jump onto my bed and cover myself up fully, and then I make a little air hole, and that is how I would be for the next 2 hours. And it could never get into my room, but it was always there. Even when I was adult, sometimes I went home, like I could still feel the presence of the like laundry room monster. It was so freaky. I asked my mom at some point, I asked her, I was like, did a cemetery get moved when this house was built? She's like, no, these are old, like, you know, wheat fields. I'm like, I'm pretty sure there was a cemetery, all a poltergeist, because there's something in this house.
Oh my goodness. When there was so would the light make it go away?
The light would not make it go away. I'd have to be in my bedroom and I'd have to be under the covers. And if I walked slow, it felt like it was following me. Like I could feel it. It's like, you know, like when you pass by somebody and they just gently touch your back or like with the finger or your hair, and you just feel like you were touched, but not touched. It was like that, where you could just feel, or like when you're playing tag and you're like, you know, like when the kid's running towards you and their hands out, and you can feel it, but it hasn't touched it. That was the feeling. It was freaking terrifying. Even when I move, every time I move into a house, I always like pray, anoint oil places and be like, listen, ain't nothing coming in here. Yeah. Nothing's welcome. That's why I have a cat.
Yeah.
They ward off evil spirits, so your girl's safe now.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. That's
just
creepy.
A lot of possession in my life. This is Beth from the Geriatric Millennials. If you're enjoying our show, please take a minute to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcast or wherever you like to listen. You can also follow us on Instagram at the Geriatric Millennials, or you can share an episode with a friend or two. Doing so helps us greatly, and we appreciate your support so much.